I hope the
Catch up.
is you.
All right.
Right.
So, this is a comedy safe space. So if you guys want to yell the N word at the top of your lungs, I'm not going to try to get you canceled.
No.
So you're going to do 3 to 5 minutes loosely on whichever topic you were assigned. Chase, you're up first. Are you ready? Let me know when you're ready, and I'll start your time. Your topic is blood. Ooh.
Blood. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I just wrote, and it's weird, and it's not usually how I write. But I'll go if you're ready.
What's the topic?
Blood.
Blood. All right. We got So blood is thicker than water. But you know what I found out is thicker than blood? Pudding. Yeah. So like if my cousin shows up to my house empty-handed, but a stranger comes over to my house with some pudding, that stranger's my family tonight. But now if you eat all that pudding, come back up, it's the same consistency as water. So now we're back to square one, and I feel like I'm betrayed by my new family. So, but the saying blood is thicker than water actually means that blood spilled on the battlefield is more bonding than the water in the womb, which makes sense because I've been at war with my brother since birth. Now, he is my brother, and I do love him like a cousin. Not an Alabama cousin, but more like a third cousin. Now, and so he has the personality of like a smug hobo. It's like he needs all the help and sympathy he can get, but the bucket he shits in doesn't stink, you know? So, but he has a thing, what we call, he's a clinical vampire. I don't know if you heard of this. And it's like a real life vampire, but that's often referred to as Renfield syndrome. And that's a disease that they named after a character in Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I thought was weird. But the same doctor that coined that term has also been trying to change the term incest to Game of Thrones syndrome, or more currently, Pornhub syndrome. So,
Whoops.
Whoa, what the hell? That's the first time that happened. Someone disappeared in the middle of their set. I wonder where he went. Stay tuned to find out. I'm confused.
Yeah.
That was quite odd.
Wow.
Well, what do you, so how's the weather out there?
Up here? It's pretty hot. We've been having a sort of heat wave for quite a while, so it's in the 30s 30s centigrade. So not sure what that is in damn Fahrenheit. Oh, there he is.
Hey, my screen just went out. I don't know what happened.
It's not raining tiny spiders, because I have a friend in Montreal, and he told me it was raining tiny spiders out there, like tiny white spiders. The kind you can kind of see through.
Really?
Yeah.
That's frightening. All right. So,
all right, Chris, are you ready to continue?
Yeah, let me continue that. It was about to get real weird, so here we go. All right. So, anyways, he's a clinical vampire. Pornhub syndrome. So, and now real life vampires or clinical vampires, they're not cool, sleek, and sexy like the movie ones. Most of them are actually scared of germs, so they don't actually try to bite people, and they require paperwork from their victims, aka donors, proving that they don't have any disease. So real life vampires are more just like nerds with a kink, you know? And in order to do vampire stuff, you have to be invited inside, and since nobody really likes people like that, they're not that active. So, hang on, what else I got here? I'm sorry. So, anyways, moving on. We also have hang on, what do we have here? Oh, so also, since my topic was blood, we're going to talk about the Bloods. So, and the Bloods leader, his name is Stanley Tookie Williams, and unfortunately, he's not a vampire, which you thought he might have been. And then now also the band Slayer released an album called Rain and Blood, and it was produced by Rick Rubin, who also is not a vampire, but might be a blood. So, and then Ice-T covered the song Rain and Blood by Slayer, and legally he can't be a vampire because he is affiliated with the Crips. So, let's see. And I read, and also to be part of the Crips initiation, from what I heard, because they don't like the Bloods that much, is you have to replace all their blood with blue Powerade. So in turn, vampires hate drinking Crip blood. And if a Crip dies and bleeds red, they actually bring him back to life and kill him again for betrayal. That was all I wrote about that. Thank you.
Oh.
So,
okay, Ward, do you have any feedback?
I love the bit about not an Alabama cousin, brother not.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good one too, and incest being a Game of Thrones syndrome. I like that. A tough topic to deal with, though.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. So many different things I could have done, and I just couldn't think of anything besides vampires.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are acting like you've never had sex with your cousin, had to hide the incest baby inside the Thanksgiving turkey, and watched your aunt eat it.
You're right. Never had to do that. That's some kind of fucked up turducken there.
Yeah. You think that pregnant women are the turduckens of cannibalism?
I can see that.
Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing about the Bloods and the Crips. What was the name of the founder? I mean, the head Blood guy.
It's Stanley Tookie Williams.
Cookie Williams. Maybe he's related to Cookie Monster, but it's like the Asian name thing where the last names come first.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like vampires, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Does anyone else have a Dracula? It was Bram Stoker, like the first one.
I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
I want a Dracula. I want there to be me, Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there was a Nosferatu, but
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more feedback, Wardie?
No, sorry.
Okay. Well, I guess you're up next then for the
Me. Okay.
topic.
The Constitution.
Constitution. Yeah. So let me know when you're ready, and I will start your time.
Okay, I'm ready. I've been asked to speak on the Constitution, but when I think of the Constitution, I usually think of my daily constitutional. But since I suffer from irritable bowels, my daily constitution is more 3 times a day constitutional. But I think that's something that people probably don't want me to talk about, because it's 1 meal in, previous meal out sort of thing. So I thought, let's start first with the Canadian Constitution. I think it's fair to say that most Canadians know very little about our Constitution. And most people will tell you that in 1982, some inbred, obscenely wealthy welfare bum living in the UK finally decided that we could amend our own constitution without her getting her approval. And some might even tell you that Quebec was not very happy with the Constitution. But that's about all we know. Most Canadians, when you talk to them about, when they hear the Constitution, they think of the one that they're more familiar with, and that is the US Constitution, right? Now, Americans keep on telling us how perfect that document is, which gets me to question, why then are there so many amendments to this perfect document? And why did it take them to get to the 25th Amendment before they figured out they needed one that would allow them to get rid of a president who is crazy? Not that you've actually used it at the moment, and you did it, because tweeting McTweetface shouldn't be in the White House. But if you get rid of him, you probably end up with the bloody holy roller Pence, you know? So, and when it comes to the US Constitution, the thing that we hear the most about is the Second Amendment and uproar about any attempts to change it, right? Apparently, for the NRA types, this amendment is sacrosanct. It cannot be changed, despite the world having changed since 1791, right? Why they think it can't be changed when it's actually an amendment to the original Constitution blows my mind. I think these people don't know what the word amendment means, right? Funny enough, though, if you draw a Venn diagram of all the people who support the NRA and all the people who are pro-life, anti-abortion, there's a huge overlap of these people, right? And I think it's a solution. And that is, I think we should redefine murder as a late-term abortion. And I think that would sort things out quite simply. But that said, I'd rather talk about my own Constitution, right? Because it's something us retirees tend to obsess about. Now, I like to think I'm a fairly healthy Constitution for a 68-year-old, but the aging process has taken its toll a bit. So, for example, take peeing. As teenagers, my brothers and I used to have this competition to see who could pee the first up a tree. Simple game. Only one rule: no flicking to get those last few centimeters. Sadly, by the time I reached retirement age, the jet stream of my youth had turned into this pathetic trickle. So much so, I would have been hard-pressed just to hit the tree. And if I dared try aiming upwards, all I would have succeeded in doing was dribbling on my shoes. However, I had an operation recently on my prostate and my bladder, and I'm now back in the game. Now, admittedly, not quite up to my teenage level, but at least I can compete with my 8-year-old great nephew. Although he does have a point about me having a height advantage, I'm still back in the game, right? Now, as exciting as all that is, and you've got to admit it's terribly exciting, right? What is even more exciting was a wonderful side effect of the operation. A dry orgasm. No goo, no mess ever again. Now, I think this is something many women would appreciate. And for us, what it's meant is that our household consumption of Kleenex has gone way down. And best of all, my wife and I no longer squabble about who gets to sleep on the wet spot because someone didn't do her Kegels. Thanks very much. That's it.
That was good. Chase, you have any feedback?
I don't know. That was pretty interesting. I liked the Kegel thing. For some reason, for whatever, when you were talking about the gooless orgasm, I don't know why, and this is weird, but it's like I want to know what does happen. If there's nothing coming out, does it make a noise? Does it, like?
I was thinking like it's like.
Yeah, it's just like it's like the dick queef now. I don't like, that's what that.
It just feels the same, but you're just not making a mess.
Nothing at all.
Like a bubble.
Huh?
Yeah, not even a bubble, like a snot bubble, like a toddler.
Yeah, there's nothing to make a bubble with.
Golly, it's
Yeah,
nothing at all, huh? That's insane.
it was surprising, but
Yeah, that, I don't know.
I was thinking, you're saying about the amendment with the crazy president. Like, what's the threshold for crazy? Because, like, how many people do you have to kill before they're like, I don't know about this?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what, like, you could put in something like, what, try to reference past presidents up until the current president and the crazy shit that they've done, and how,
Unrestricted drone strikes.
yeah, like how have we not used it yet? That might be pretty interesting to put in there. Because
Right.
we've had I mean, Trump definitely is wacky, but we've had a lot of presidents do a lot of crazy shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Unrestricted drone strikes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's great. We should.
Uh-huh.
Well,
So.
Getting blown by average-looking women? What?
What's that?
The free world. No, I'm joking. I'm trying to think of presidential offenses, but also trying to maintain an air of levity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the trouble when I start talking about Trump. It's like, oh my God, I just get angry. But I was in New York not recently, but last year or but before that, and I saw there's this one of those greasy spoon delis, and they were advertising in their window a Trump sandwich, and they said it only came on white bread. It was full of bologna, and it came with a Russian sauce and a tiny pickle, and I thought that was kind of cute, sort of thing. But
it's pretty funny.
No, I mean, when it gets to Trump's politics, it's kind of hard to make a joke about it, except the way he talks, But other than that, it's like, oh no. Anyway,
I try to stray away from politics and comedy.
Yeah, me too.
It's a powder keg.
Yeah, and then I find when people, there are too many people doing really good comedy, political comedy.
Are there?
On your late shows, late night shows. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. Trevor Noah, what's his name? Oh, my brain at this time of night. Sorry, but a number of your late night show types are doing some pretty good political commentary with a light touch to it. I just get pissed off.
Yeah. Now, for the Second Amendment thing, I was thinking, like, I don't think it's, like, open enough. I think we need recreational nukes. I want a nuke. It's like a small one, just for personal use.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, just writing it down.
Yeah, I mean, like, if your neighbor's just being a dick or something, you might be like, hey, I'm going to nuke you, and they'll be like, you can't nuke me, and then you nuke them. And as they're atomized, they realize that they shouldn't have fucked with you, but they don't have time to realize that because it's happening so fast. Good times.
Okay. Well, thanks for those.
Chase, any closing remarks?
No. I got a bug flying around my head. Sorry.
Only had a tiny bug-sized nuke.
Yeah, right.
Well, I guess it's my turn. My topic was gangsters.
Gangsters.
Yeah. So, guess I'll start now. I always thought like gangsters were kind of weird because like I mean if you see one person like stirring by themselves like it's not weird, but like you don't need that many people to like stir like a pot or something, you know? Like I mean it's a one person job. It's just like, how bad are you at your job where you need like 80 people to help you like fucking churn something? I don't know. Gangsters. I grew up in Detroit. There's a lot of gangs in Detroit. A lot of shooting. And for some reason, like when I was like every time like I would try to go to sleep, that's when the shooting would start. Like it would be like the second I tried to close my eyes, the gunshots would start, and I'd be like, man, if this shit gets any worse, I'm just gonna stand outside of opera theaters, killing kids' parents, and hope that one day we're Batman. It'll work eventually. Yeah, but like I don't know. I think like I always wanted to be in the gang though, like a little like because it would be kind of cool, you know. You could be like, hey, I'm not alone in this world, this cold world. So I got kind of into cults. Like I also kind of want to like start a cult, but I don't think I have enough charisma to keep people in a cult. You know, because I need enough charisma to like get people to stick around and do illegal things like collect rainwater. I think that'd be the whole premise of my cult. It'd be like illegal rainwater collectors, like the cops was like, oh, there's another one of those fucking rainwater cultists, and they'd like be running with 2 buckets or a jug on their head, like a fucking African person, like with the jugs on their head full of water. Where they walk, but could they run like that? I always wondered that. I was like, how fast can you walk with a jug on your head that's full of a liquid? So I feel like if you ran, you'd get home and it'd be like half empty. But maybe there's a method to it. I don't know. Speaking of things on your head collecting rainwater, I'm going to get a haircut because every time it rains, my hair is like a sponge, a giant sponge. Anyway, that'd be like maybe the world's most benign cult. Are cults gangs though? Like, because like some cults like killed people, you know, like Jonestown. I mean, they killed a politician. I don't know any gangs that have killed probably like Al Capone gangs, you know, like the prohibitionary gangs, with the Tommy guns and the booze. Yeah, I feel like they probably killed some politicians, but there was no mass suicide. What if every gang ended in mass suicide? I feel like that's how everything should end. You know, like every single endeavor of human achievement should end in mass suicide. That should just be the solution, you know. It's less. It's not as bad as like people killing other people, you know. But it's way more horrifying because like you could understand why a bunch of people would kill a bunch of other people, but like understanding why a bunch of people would kill themselves, like, you're like, oh, that could be me. I had a friend who jerked off 6 million Jews. We called him Beat Off Hitler. All right, I'm done. That was a level of consciousness plus one of my old bits. Oh, any feedback?
Yeah. I had like the 80 people to stir something, like the gangster. Like, if you're gonna keep that, make it more clear. Like you had a whole gang of stirs, you know. And then the other thing I wrote was like you said, you don't know if you have the charisma of a cult leader. You can compare yourself. Like Charles Manson had high charisma. I have the charisma of like a koala bear or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, when you're saying all achievements should end in mass suicide, like what kind of achievements? Like high school graduation, suicide class, or your class just suicides themselves or whatever. That was all I thought of.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you get to the station and there's only one bag of hot fries left.
yeah. Like Chase, it took me a while to figure out when you're talking about stirrers that you were talking about gangster, and but that was clever. But it just sort of I was for a while I was thinking, how did you get to there? Um, so that was a little less clear, but I think that's funny, and I like the moving from a gang to a cult. I like that to really work with that. I think, and your list of illegal things your cult would do, like collecting rainfall. Yes. But walking with a pot on your head. I mean, I grew up with women in Africa wearing pots on their heads and walking at a pretty fast pace with that pot full. So, but that's not something you can make. You can.
Well, they have like gyroscopic necks.
Oh God, I do think they train from when they're little girls, but they're amazing, sort of thing.
There's a pothead pun in there.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they sometimes have a little pad that they put on top, but amazing stuff. I was wondering how it's probably not. You can't really bring in a joke about how the Black Panthers were. They try to cast them as a gang, as opposed to a political organization, but I don't think there's anything you can make a funny joke out of that,
I think every political organization is a gang.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you could go that way too, yeah. And this ending in mass suicide, that's kind of a neat idea. It'd be good to sort of come up with suggestions of a few endeavors that should end in mass suicide, A Republican convention, maybe?
That may be political.
Hey?
I think all politics are stupid.
Yeah.
But I also think like the goal of being like a living creature, I feel like the ultimate goal is to be the last living thing on Earth.
Well,
Isn't that what the whole contest is for?
To outlive everyone.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of impossible for us because we have like worms and shit inside us.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
I think we're wired to procreate, but that's it's possible.
Yeah, that's how our genes live on.
Yeah.
We want our genes and whatever is the last thing alive. Hopefully.
It'd be pretty.
That's why I started fucking cockroaches. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the next section, right?
Sure.
You guys
Sure.
So this section is the part where you just talk about bits you've been working on, or you say them, or you say what pops in your head. I'm giving you guys as much time as you possibly want, unless it gets to a point where the other person is looking miffed. So let me know, Chase, you're up first when you're ready, and I will start your time.
Here we go. So I grew up poor, but we lived in a house. We didn't live in a mobile home, but we did learn that any home could be a mobile home if it was hit by a tornado. But and also because we were poor growing up, our idea of fine dining was like Taco Bell. So you can say I was born with like a silver spork in my mouth, and I had to wear like when I got to high school, I ended up having to wear like hand-me-downs from my parents, and so like telling your friends that you got into a 37-year-old's pants sounds cool until you have to explain that they were your dad's. So, but I moved on. I'm grown up now. I have a wife. I have 2 kids and a mortgage. It's like a new chapter in my life. Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So, but so it's obvious I'm broke as shit. Like I'm so broke up to the point where I want to like steal money but do responsible shit with it. It's like I want to rob a bank and go back to the bank the next day and pay off my loans so I can build my credit. And it doesn't help when like I just bought a new car, and having 2 kids and buying a new car is pretty much like buying a $20,000 trash can. So you're just trying to pick out which model looks best with shit covering the back seat. And then when you're bringing your friends somewhere, you have to kind of like hide it. Like, oh no, man, those new Sparks come with Funyun chromes and Cheeto stains. So, in that new car, we decided to take a trip. We took a vacation, and if you want to know what it's like having 2 kids and a wife and going on vacation, take your last 2 paychecks, roll them up, fucking smoke them. Yeah. So you're not going to get high, but you're going to be left feeling sick and you're going to look stupid. So, that was pretty much all I had for that. I've been working on. So, hey, I'm Chase. Thank you.
Awesome.
I love the chapter 7 reference. That was clever. That was really clever. I like that. And robbing a bank and then doing the responsible thing and going in to pay.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I think you could work on that more. Sort of a.
Yeah.
No, I think you got some good stuff going there. And when you started off with, I was so poor sort of stuff, and I thought, oh, this sounds sad, but
oh, it was sad. Trust me, I was there.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it really turned nicely. It didn't go from not being sad, but it gave it a nice sort of twist to the sadness, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
I really like that. I thought there's a lot in there.
Cool. Yes.
Funyun crumbs.
Kids, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think that I mean the thing about the rolling up your paychecks and smoking them, like it would be the same as taking a vacation. Like
Yeah, that was funny.
isn't like getting high like a vacation in your mind? Or
Oh,
like
okay.
tripping.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know about that?
Huh?
But you guys still have the death penalty or something, right? For weed.
It's totally legal here.
No, I'm talking about Louisiana.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's medically legal now. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or jokes. Well, Wardie, are you ready?
Sure.
All right, let me know.
Going as an old fart, I want to say to those of you who worry about old age, don't worry. It doesn't last very long. Okay, and there are some advantages. Like for example, when I buy things now, I can be pretty sure they're not going to wear out. Okay, and all my favorite songs are now played in elevators. It's great, right? But obviously there are things to avoid in your old age, like taking a laxative and a sleeping tablet in the same night. Don't ask why, but those sort of things are fairly easy to learn, okay? But I retired a few years ago, and let me tell you, retirement's great fun. Not only because I have a wife and a car that are both still working, but also because when I do crazy stuff, people aren't sure whether I'm taking the piss out of them or whether I'm seriously senile, right? So, for example, I love going to a pharmacy, grabbing a box of condoms, going up to the counter and asking them where the fitting rooms are. And talking of fitting rooms, going to a real fitting room, like in a clothing store or somewhere, sitting there for a few minutes and then shouting really loud, "Oi, there's no toilet paper in here." But what's also fun, though, I should mention here, my all-time favorite, though, is on an aeroplane. Those long, boring flights, when they come around to serve the food, I always order the stew. And when no one's looking, I slip the stew into one of those bath bags, right? And I stumble down the aisle, heading towards the loo, making retching noises into the bag. Just before I get to the loo, I stop, turn around, wipe my mouth, take a fork out of my back pocket, and head back to my seat while eating my stew. If you've never seen synchronized barfing before, let me tell you, it's a sight to behold. However, what's also fun are the little annoying things that you don't have to do anymore. Things like, I don't know, when you get up in the morning, you have to sniff your underpants to see if you can wear them again, right? I don't do that anymore because I just know I can. But I am an old fart, okay? So I'm relatively new to things like social media, iPhones, apps, and all that sort of stuff. So I still make silly mistakes. Like the other day, for example, I was taking a photo of this horrendous hemorrhoid I had. I wanted to send it to my wife to get her opinion. Instead, I sent it to all of my contact lists. Talk about embarrassing, right? Plus, it cost me an absolute fortune in stamps, too. And after those apps, you got to be really careful with apps, okay? Some of them are really dangerous. Like, I don't know if you've seen this aging app, right? The one where you download it and it shows what you're going to look like when you get old, right? Now, obviously, I don't have to do that because all I can do is look in the mirror. But be very careful if you decide to do it, because it can lead to embarrassing situations like my friend Tom discovered. You see, his son Jamie downloaded the app, and Jamie ended up looking just like Mr. Johnson, their next door neighbor. Awkward. Tom then subsequently decided to download for his wife the "What You're Going to Look Like When You Get a Divorce" app. Now, as for Facebook, I find Facebook really confusing, right? Because I never know what's fake news and what isn't and so on. But I did read a very interesting article that blew my mind. It was an article on a global study of, how'd they put it, sexual attitudes and behaviors of older women and men. And apparently, men in my age group, healthy men in my age group, that's the 65 to 75-year-old age group, right? They have sex on average they have sex roughly once a week, right? And by roughly, I mean approximately, not whips and chains kind of roughly, okay? However, there's one serious outlier: Japanese men in my age group. Apparently, they're lucky if they have sex once a year. I was horrified. This is a major revelation to me. I had no idea I was Japanese. Now, I must admit, just while on the subject of old farts, I must admit some old farts can be really annoying. Okay, I was on my bike today, and I was stopped at a traffic light, and I had this older woman and her husband on their bikes pull up beside me. The woman clearly was not concerned about keeping the 2-meter distance, right? And she's right up there chatting away to me about what a wonderful day it was, what a beautiful day it was. And then she turns to me and says, she said in French, but I'll translate it for you. It was, "Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful day." And that annoyed me. And so I suggested to her that perhaps her Lord had nothing to do with this being a wonderful day. To which she responded, no, 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 he creates everything. The Lord created everything. It's all the Lord, the Lord, the Lord. Now, I couldn't resist, right? So I responded, thank you, Lord, for COVID. And she was suitably horrified. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks.
That was great.
Yeah.
Chase, you have any feedback?
The only thing you said the phrase "old fart" like 3 times.
Yeah.
Compare it to an old shit. I don't like what's the difference? Like, I'd rather be an old fart. We might just smell a little bit than an old shit who's greasy and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
If you're gonna keep saying old fart over and over, take it to the next level.
Sure.
That was the only thing I could think of. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking when you said the COVID joke, like after you said thank God for COVID, I picture you like coughing in her face.
She was actually talking right there, and talking right in my face. Actually, to tell you the truth, I didn't say thank Lord for the for COVID. I thought of that 5 minutes later. After, and I hate that. I just hate when you come up with a clever response, and it's after you've after the fact, But anyway, I would have liked to. Should I say?
That's the beauty of the joke. It's whatever you say it is what happened.
See, I liked the since you're old now, you can do weird things to fuck with people because they don't know if you're serious or if you're just crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I wrote a premise like that. I was like, I can't wait till I get old so I can start stealing bananas, just random shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a joke like that too, but it's fun to see someone who is old talk about it also.
Dude, stealing bananas.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was just like, yep, I want to go to fucking Walmart, steal bananas, go to gas station for free coffee, all kinds of shit.
Dude, how long do you think it would take before they noticed?
Yeah, that you were just stealing a banana.
Yeah, like what if you went in every day and stole a banana, and then they had to like get some teenage kid working there to watch out, like, oh, there's a guy, he comes in every day and steals a banana.
Yeah. And bananas are like 16 cents per banana, so you have to steal quite a few of them before they can do anything about it. So.
Yeah, but Wardie, I like your voice because you sound like you're saying something extremely important all the time. I just wish I could pull that off. Like
distinguished, yeah.
Like I'm like, he sounds like he's about to tell me the secret to like cold fusion.
But he's talking about sniffing his underwear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does throw people once in a while, which is great.
It's good stuff.
That'd be like, you ever do one of those jokes where you like start off saying something that sounds like it's gonna be something serious, and then like it's never mind. Sorry, that was a random trail of thought.
I have a joke about how I can't function if I get high, and how I got into a serious conversation with the guy who asked the question, what do you think the world would be like if everybody were blind? There's so many smart things you could say, and the best I came up with was, I bet we could taste farts.
They say in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Yeah.
Too bad that guy was an asshole. Yeah, fun. fun times. Okay, so If that's it, I guess I'm up next.
You're on.
Oh boy. I'm gonna have to set this back down even though it's not charged. Oh wait, hold on. I could just do this. Oh, no, hold on.
Where you going?
I'm upside down. Fuck. All right,
Yeah, you on your Spider-Man over there?
God damn it. All right, fuck it. Shitty engineer screens that don't flip over when you turn it inside out. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go, I guess, now. You guys know about the Wu-Tang Clan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know about they have a white member. His name is Meth OD Man. As opposed to Method Man, who is an actual member of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
I used to watch a lot of oh, never mind. I feel like in the future they're gonna have like mind reading technology, and I don't want anybody reading my mind because I feel like they're gonna look in there and it's gonna be like puppies frolicking in a field, and they're gonna be like, oh, and they're gonna look again, and it's gonna be like little hedgehogs sumo wrestling, and they're like, oh, that's the cutest thing I ever saw in my life. They're gonna look a third time. It's gonna be me in a back alley getting blown by a tarantula in a Speedo. It's like, if you can picture a tarantula in a Speedo, I can't. Like, where would the legs go? I don't know. I used to watch a lot of Disney movies when I was a kid, and the one thing I learned from Disney movies is never trust anybody pointy, because they're always secretly a villain.
Pointy?
Yeah, don't trust those pointy bags of shit. They'll stab you right in the back with their pointy limbs. I was thinking of a company like this, like Uber, but just for boobs. I was gonna call it Boober, and like it'd be like a driver and a lady's about to get in the car, and he's like, no, ma'am, just the boobs. You guys know about autoerotic asphyxiation?
Yeah.
You think they ever tried to lynch somebody, but accidentally ended up causing the greatest orgasm of all time?
Oh, God.
Because if people started lynching me, I would just start jerking off because I'm not going to miss the big one. Like the last one. I've been thinking about antidepressants. That's what I nicknamed the lady who just starts appearing and giving me booze. Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to have a pet turtle, but then it died. And I kind of forgot about it because it was around the same time my Xbox died. And I felt way worse about that. Wait, did I say Xbox? I meant parents.
Ooh.
Yeah. I used to think that mirrors needed batteries. And people say, like, people grow up and talk about how evil corporations are, but I realized that when I was a kid, and I feel like everyone should have, because I realized corporations are evil when I found out that corporations make toys and then don't include the batteries. Because they don't do that with adult shit. Like, imagine if you went to buy like a car or something and you go to start it and like, no batteries not included. And like, how the fuck am I supposed to get out of here? Like, oh, I don't figure it out. Yeah, or if you buy like a defibrillator or something, you go to use it, you're like, oh fuck, I forgot to buy batteries.
Yeah.
Sorry. And the guy's like foaming at the mouth underneath you. Yeah. I found out that strip mining is a thing recently, and I googled strip miners, but I think now I'm on a list. You know how death row inmates are allowed to choose their last meal, like they get like the last meal choice. What if they didn't? You think the guards would just be like, let's just scrape some cum off the shower floor and slap it on the plate. They won't care. They got bigger things to worry about. You think the airport has ever had to delay flights because their butthole scanners are down? Last one. I used to think that Stan Lee was actually short for Stangelina Jolie, and his whole life was just a role so he could sneak into every Marvel movie by inventing Marvel. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys, for sticking around through that terrible set of terrible jokes.
I really loved the bit about no batteries with toys, and then comparing that with you wouldn't get a car, you wouldn't get a defibrillator, you know, a pacemaker or anything like that without a battery. But toy companies give no batteries. I thought that was great. I thought that was very good. I wasn't too sure about how I felt about the lynching and orgasm.
I liked that a lot.
I told it because I can, and I have to.
Yeah.
I had such horror for lynching, obviously, you know. So, but I guess it's a funny way of looking at it for sure. It just sort of hit me. Like, oh.
No, man, you don't want to hear the rest of my jokes.
But I wasn't sure I got it when you talked about the Xbox. You said, sorry, I meant my parents. Did you mean your parents died instead of the...
Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't act. They're still both alive. That was a joke.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna die eventually, though. Hopefully. I'm saying I don't want my parents to just never die. They didn't have to watch me die.
What if they were vampires and you never knew that they were vampires?
I mean, if two vampires fuck, do they not have a super kid? Isn't that what happened in Twilight? He fucked a normal person. Do they got a super kid?
I never seen Twilight, so I don't know.
I read the books. I didn't see the movies. I read the books to try to understand why people were into it. The books were bad. They were bad books, but they were enjoyable.
Yeah. So I had I think it was like the first jokes that you were saying, or one of the whatever jokes about your mind as reading minds or whatever you had, and how it was like your first example was like something kind of happy. The second example was some other animals, like cuddly animals or whatever. I was gonna say like you could have like how your mind is different than your demeanor. You kind of make that thing. Oh, we thought this guy was going to be kind of weird, but he's actually happy. And then you go into the spider giving you a blowjob thing, and it's like, oh, never mind, he is fucked up. The other thing, the boober instead of Uber. For whatever reason, I just put boober drive-by strip club. So, do what you want with that.
That is an amazing tag.
Yeah.
Be writing that down.
And then your the antidepressant. Just to make that a little bit more clear, you can say your antidepressant was what we used to call my mom's sister when she started giving me alcohol.
Yeah.
That was all I had.
Cool, thanks. Wait. Yeah, we're supposed to have another person show up, but he never came.
It seems like more and more people have been canceling on these. Because I'll try to watch a little bit every night. And it's always like, it used to be like 6 people, then it was like 4, now it's like 3 almost every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the second week in a row. I only had 2 other people.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Whatever. I'm just trying to do as much as how much comedy did y'all do like before the whole shutdown thing?
I was doing about 10 shows a month. but that was mixed between clubs and indie shows. The indie shows would be in some bar or whatever like that, sort of thing. So it was mixed, but and so I wasn't doing a hell of a lot, but I was. And getting paid only once in a while by the club, sort of thing. When you do it, the indie shows, often you'd get a drink or something like for $5-10, So, but I wasn't doing it for the money anyway. I'm a retiree and I got a pension, But I was just doing it for.
Well, you weren't doing comedy for the money. It's the whole point.
Come on.
Great vast amounts of money there in comedy.
Yeah. And what about you, Chase?
I did. So I had one consistent show in my hometown. We don't have any comedy. It's pretty much just me, and I had an open mic that I would host every 2 weeks or every other week, and so that was the most consistent that we were getting here. And then I would travel like about an hour one way or the other every couple times a week just to get more stage time. So I was trying to get on stage at least twice a week, open mic wise, and then like at least 2 or 3 actual paid shows a month.
Right.
Like in the whole state of Louisiana, there's not one single comedy club, so every show is an independent like bar show. So,
wow,
yeah, and so the closest scene to me is about an hour and a half away in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is a really good scene. So I would try to be there a couple times a week, and then they would book me on some of their shows throughout the month. So, and then I also in my hometown would book like touring comics, like aside of like so the open mic that I would host, I would always have a closer, like a headliner for it that I would pay, and they're usually like either like a amateur, like up and coming, or a touring comic. And then throughout the month as well, other touring comics coming, trying to go from Texas through Louisiana, I would book here as well, like sometimes on like a Thursday or sometimes on a Saturday, either at a bar or even house shows at my house. I would actually booked a few touring comics, and we would just pack my garage with people and take tips, and they would sleep in my spare room. So just trying to do it DIY however we can.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's real fucking fun, actually.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. And Bilal, what about you?
I didn't hear the question because I was frozen for like a year.
What's that?
I was frozen while he was asking the question. I didn't hear it.
Oh shit.
What about you? How often do you perform? Were you performing and stuff like that before COVID?
Yeah, I'm still mostly at the open mic phase. I was trying to get it up at least like 10 times a week, hopefully.
10 times a week. Wow.
Yes.
I wish. Shit.
I mean, Detroit has a cool little comedy scene going on, which is it's weird. There's a lot of it, which I guess isn't the norm.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Toronto, apparently, it's like that, where you can get on 3 shows in one night.
Yeah, I hit Toronto last year, like fall, I think. It was really cool. It was weird being able to smoke weed just in public outside because it felt too nice,
Yeah.
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
What so how often do y'all do these online shows or open mics?
Me? This is I did one last night for the first time.
Okay.
It's my second one because I just sort of I was feeling very, very rusty.
Yeah.
So I needed to sort of try some stuff, sort of thing. What about you?
Yeah, I've done this show, the workshop. I think this is the 4th time I've done this, and I've done like 4 or 5 other just random Zoom open mics that I hopped on, and then I've done one like competition for Shenanigans Comedy Theater that was actually really cool. I didn't win, but I came in I was like a runner-up or something, but so I've done probably like 10 of these altogether.
You think like because I don't know if it transfers very well to like this format, feels weird. Yeah. So I prefer like this, like a workshop than
that's
like an open mic online.
Yeah.
Because there's still a few live ones going on around here, but it has to be outdoors,
Yeah. That's like, yeah, the online open mic thing, I do prefer a feedback option on it because I've done a couple that was just like a regular open mic where you hop into the room, do 3 to 5 minutes, and then you watch other people do 3 to 5 minutes, like with no feedback.
Yeah.
And it's like it's very awkward.
Yeah.
But something like yeah.
It makes you want to like shoot yourself in the back of the dick when you
exactly.
The camera.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're not hearing the laughter, I was talking to Bilaal earlier before you came in, Chase, and it was about our club here. One of our clubs decided to do a drive-in setup for a comedy last Friday, first time they tried it. Yeah. And it was difficult. I mean, it was packed, but you couldn't hear any laughter. Yeah. Everyone was in their cars. You can't hear the laughter. So the comics had a real tough time not getting that feedback. Mm-hmm. And the audience wasn't hearing, the audience gets, it's much better when you can hear other people laughing, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't. You might hear one or two people in the car next door, but you're so far apart and it's all very COVID specific stuff, and so a comedian would say, hoot your horn if you're in the back seat sucking someone off, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something silly like that. So people would hoot. But that's about it. That's about it,
Yeah.
Sort of
but we actually I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we actually probably like a month ago our state entered phase 2 of reopening. So some of the bars can be open again. They opened the bar that I do my open mic at. So we've had 2 of them so far. And then ever since they reopened, we've spiked hard, as far as like cases go. So they started shutting things back down again. So I've gotten to get on stage 2 times since this and actually tell jokes in front of people.
Oh wow.
And it was awesome, but now everybody's dying again. So
yeah, it's the same story here. Like I think I got enough like 4 or 5 times. And now they're shutting everything back down. It's only outdoor shit. I got one thing scheduled for tomorrow. And
outdoors.
Our governor shut down all indoor bar service.
Yeah, there's a few places here that will do outdoor stuff, but like I said, Louisiana, especially where I'm from, Lake Charles, is not very comedy friendly at all. So all the places that have the outdoor options is like will not book comedy. I've presented like, hey, we could do this and this and this. You're not going to waste any money. I'll bring a crowd, blah, blah, blah. I'll do all the promotion. And they're just like, no, we don't want to do comedy.
Why don't they want comedy?
Nobody, no, I don't know.
Because it's going to be political.
I don't know if they're scared of like content or because their bars, most of them are like 18 and up, but I'm not sure if they're worried about content, political content, or if they just think they just seem like they don't care about it. They want to book these little, cover bands and singer-songwriter acoustic acts that are just going to play for 3 hours for $50, And I'm trying to do a show for an hour to an hour and a half. I'm not even asking for that much money. If anything, we'll do a door for like $3 a head, just so I can pay like, a couple of the comics to come in or a decent headliner. And they're just like, no, we don't want to do that. But here's a guy that's going to sing 90s songs for fucking 3 hours straight.
Man, 90s songs never get old.
How does the outdoors work? I mean, how's it organized?
Like outdoor shows?
I mean, yeah. Some bars have outdoor patios, and that's mainly been what's going on in my experience. You ever been to a bar and they have like a little outdoor section?
Oh, so it's just a little outdoor section sort of thing, and they have everybody sort of spaced apart, or
Well, I went to one. They had a pretty big. It was like a kind of a backyard-sized outdoor section, and then in the back they had like the mic and like an amplifier.
Yeah.
It was open air.
Did y'all watch that? Did y'all see the Dave Chappelle thing that he put on YouTube a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it
I
wasn't really a comedy thing though.
No, it was a statement for sure. It was good, but I mean, that's like that outdoor setup is. I liked that. That was cool.
Yeah, it looked to me, I couldn't see much, but it looked to me that they sprayed on the grass various sections that had 2 chairs, and people could go and sit in 2 chairs, and they were far apart and so on, you know. And I think people are going to have probably in that sort of circumstance with people laughing and so on, you know, it's probably better to wear a mask, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
At least you'd hear the laughter. Yeah.
But they had a Texas, like I'm in Louisiana, I'm right on the Texas border. Like I'm 45 minutes away from Texas. And they completely had reopened Texas for a little bit. And they had like the improvs were starting to open again. And up in Dallas, they had was it 2 weekends ago, I think? Mark Norman headlined the improv in Dallas. And a buddy of mine was the opener, and he ended up getting COVID.
Really?
So, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about driving back down to Austin, but I haven't seen any live things happening.
They're starting to shut everything back down to Texas again. So.
Yeah, here it's interesting. They're just slowly easing it open in the various different provinces in different ways. And I think they're going a bit too fast. But interestingly, all the Black Lives Matter demos, I mean, we had a great one here a while back of 25,000 people. Most people were wearing masks and so on, and there's no COVID being attributed to those demos. But the people who are getting it are people who having parties and, you know, that sort of thing. You know, it's more that sort of stuff that's causing it, as opposed to people demonstrating on the street and so on. You know,
like, you think that's like, I mean, maybe there's the outdoor aspect, but at the same time, like being that close to people, you'd think that there would be a higher rate of transmission.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a level of danger there, but the fact that people were wearing masks, and some of the organizers were handing out free masks in case people didn't have them, you know. And I kept on trying to maneuver myself, so I had my bike with me, so I kind of used that as a bit to set a sort of a bit of space. But yeah, I know it was certainly worrying, but they've not been able to attribute one case of COVID to those demos.
Yeah, I've read about that too. A lot of people here from Louisiana are blaming that for the spike, but it's like
cool.
It's ridiculous just because this is how ridiculous people in Louisiana think, because everybody here is like high on the protest against wearing masks or any kind of protective gear, and everybody that keeps catching it, like they started blaming it on like the protests and stuff like that. But it's like we're getting it, like Louisiana and Texas are getting hit hard now. All the places that had the biggest protests, you know, like New York and all these, you know, other states, they're not having spikes.
Yeah.
But we are. It might be because your dumbass wants to fucking go to parties and have pool parties at the casino every other weekend and shit like that, but they don't think that's it. It's obviously,
what's their big argument against wearing a mask? I don't know.
Because it takes away their freedom. I don't know. It's fucking stupid.
They wear safety belts in cars, right?
What's that?
They wear safety belts in cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not super inconvenient to wear a seatbelt. I mean, wearing a mask, like that's basically like wearing a chastity belt on your face.
Yeah, how are you supposed to suck dick with a mask on your face?
Yeah, but you always take it off. But I mean, here they're only saying wear a mask indoors in
Yeah.
public places. You know, if you're going to go and do groceries or whatever, put the mask on, and as soon as you get out, you take it off. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. It just seems people totally lack empathy when they figure I'm not going to wear a mask because masks tend to protect other people. If you're wearing a mask, it stops you infecting other people. You know, that's the idea. But it seems like
People
these.
are worried about looking afraid.
Oh yeah, it's the macho stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm terrified. I don't give a fuck.
yeah. Well, I'm. You know, people can talk about COVID being the boomer remover, and being a boomer, I'm not too keen on being removed. So
Yeah.
I look after myself. And I just had a granddaughter. My granddaughter was born 2 weeks ago, and so
Dude,
I want to be around her. You know, so I'm being very careful. That sort of stuff. You know.
Yeah. Other people are not being careful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a sad state of affairs. But anyway.
well,
Thanks,
yeah,
guys.
I'm worried about the future of comedy
Yeah.
Yeah.
in general. Not just because of this, but also the like weird climate of people being hurt by words by others.
Yeah.
Being,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
There. I think you know here in Ottawa anyway. Comedians tend to be fairly liberal, left leaning, and audiences that come tend to fall into that. You know,
yeah, that's
um,
what I'm afraid of, though.
why
I
you?
feel like,
Hey,
well, I think that like if you're gonna politicize comedy, like you're gonna alienate people.
yeah. No, most people. I'm just saying the comedians are liberal and left leaning, but most of them don't do political comedy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Ottawa.
like,
Very few of them do it. I mean, some do Trump imitations, you know, and that sort of thing. But there's very little political economy. I mean, political comedy sort of thing.
I just mean like on stage, though. You know, it's like a climate.
It's
If you
all
like, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's all on how you say what you're saying. Like you got I know I mentioned it a while ago, but I don't know if y'all are familiar with Mark Norman.
Hmm.
But he he's very big. He's like a social commentary is like his subject matter mostly, and it's he questions why we can't say these words anymore, and why is this offensive but not this offensive, and he does it all in a way where so he's saying the words people are shunning people for saying, but the way he presents it and
Right.
how he makes it a joke of it, it's like very acceptable because he's putting the curiosity behind it, not just blatantly saying something terrible. You know?
Well, yeah, but like that I think the more absurd you make something like dark or serious,
Yeah.
the easier it is to receive for other people. Like I don't mean like going up there and like fucking talking like about specific groups of people, but I mean like the whole like thing of like people being serious about it though is the problem that I have like about like weird shit. Because like I think what the fuck? I think like I don't know. Never mind. I'm probably just rambling on.
Well, there are a pair of comedians that visit Ottawa once in a while. They're twins who were in the army at one stage, and they put on the most disgusting right-wing stuff you could ever imagine, and they're black comics, yet they are so you couldn't come any stronger Trump supporters.
Well, but I mean, you can't just assume someone's political leanings based on the color of their skin. That's
No,
racist.
I know, but to be so rabidly right-wing really surprised me, and people walked into the show. There were about 6, 7 people wearing MAGA hats here in Ottawa, in Canada, because these guys just pull out the dregs of society, sort of thing. So with their right-wing stuff, it was, I just walked out of there. It was
Oh man, if I showed you my swastika tattoo, it would blow your mind.
It would. I would probably blow your mind.
I think the point I was trying to make was like I don't like that there's pressure to fit into a certain way of thinking. I think like everyone should have an open mind when it comes to people who are different than themselves. It's all like I mean I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, but
I draw the line. There's a line that just, if anyone's, I draw a line at racism, homophobia, sexism, that sort of thing. That's where I draw the line, sort of thing. But we each are different,
Yeah. I think racism is fun and cool.
You think so? Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Do you have a favorite type of hat? Hat, like a hat you wear on your head.
I really wear a hat.
I wear hats all the time. I don't know, just why. I wear weird hats, cabbie hats, and this weird thing that I got from Ross Dress for Less.
I was thinking about getting back into hats, but like my hair, doesn't let me wear hats. But I was wondering what type of hat guy I should be. Like I can't be like a fedora guy,
You can try it. You can always cut a certain spot of your hair out to be able to fit a hat on.
Oh yeah, like a monk.
Yeah, something.
Friar tuck.
Or you could cut parts of the hat out to put your hair through.
Or a top hat would give you room.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to bring top hats back actually, but I'm trying to like get a bunch of people to wear them so it'll be cool for me to wear one because I don't want to be the one guy wearing a top hat.
You don't want to be the trendsetter. You just want to follow, but it's your idea.
Yeah. Fucking top hat. Get maybe a fake beard going. Well, so do you guys have any like social media or anything you want to plug at the end of this? Like you got Instagram, anything?
I don't.
I got Facebook. I also run the Lake Charles Comedy Facebook page. And there's also me on Instagram at lowercase.c.a.bon, and then Twitter at CABfunny. But I suck at all of it. So.
Yeah, me too. I don't do social media. All right, we are going to end the live.